Stop reacting and start responding with Zen mindfulness. The power of the mind in everyday life. Imagine a moment of conflict. Perhaps you are in traffic, and another driver cuts you off. Your heart races, your hands grip the wheel tighter, and an angry thought forms before you even realize it. Now, imagine another scenario. You take a deep breath, let the moment pass, and continue driving without stress. What changed? The external event remained the same, but your mind took a different path. This fundamental difference, between reacting impulsively and responding thoughtfully, is the foundation of Zen and Buddhist teachings on mindfulness. The ability to train the mind to respond instead of react is the key to living with peace, clarity, and true strength. In this exploration, we will go beyond simple concepts. We will analyze how Zen wisdom and Buddhist philosophy teach us to master our emotions, cultivate awareness, and embrace a life of intentional choices. Through ancient stories, modern insights, and practical techniques, we will uncover how to transform our thinking and reshape our lives. The illusion of strength in reaction. Why do we react? Reaction is a biological function. Our brains are wired for survival, and quick reactions have historically kept humans alive. If a predator appeared, our ancestors needed to react instantly. However, in modern society, most conflicts are not life-threatening. Despite this, our bodies still flood with adrenaline at the slightest provocation, an email that frustrates us, a rude comment, or an unexpected challenge. Yet, if we examine the true nature of reaction, we see that it is an automatic, conditioned response rather than a conscious decision. When we react, we surrender our control to external forces. The ability to step back and observe before acting is what differentiates conscious action from mere reaction. The story of two travelers. Consider two men walking through a busy marketplace. A stranger bumps into the first man, and he instantly flares up in anger. His fists clench, his breath shortens, and his voice rises in fury. The conflict escalates. The second man, faced with the same situation, pauses. He observes his own anger, takes a deep breath, and responds with calmness. The moment passes without harm. What separates these two men? One is controlled by his emotions, while the other controls them. The first man believes his reaction is a show of strength, but in reality, it reveals his weakness. The second man, on the other hand, demonstrates true power, the ability to master his own mind. Strength versus true power. In society, we often equate strength with dominance, aggression, or the ability to overpower others. But true power lies in self-mastery. The person who can remain calm under pressure is far more powerful than the one who loses control at the slightest trigger. Zen wisdom teaches us that reactivity is a form of weakness. It means being controlled by external forces. Those who can control their responses, however, are in charge of their own peace and happiness. Observing without attachment. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the practice of mindful observation. Instead of reacting to every situation impulsively, the mindful individual observes emotions as they arise but does not become entangled in them. This is not suppression, it is awareness without attachment. The Buddha taught that emotions, like waves, rise and fall naturally. When we react, we attempt to grasp these waves or push them away, leading to suffering. Instead, the wise person allows the wave to come and go without resistance. A monk once asked his teacher, "How can I stop being angry?" The master replied, "Who is angry?" This simple question reveals the illusion of identification with emotion. If we can observe anger as something separate from our true nature, we no longer become consumed by it. Mastering the pause, the gateway to wisdom. The space between stimulus and response. The Austrian neurologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and philosopher, once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This space is where wisdom is born. When we learn to pause before responding, we take control of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. The ability to master this space determines the quality of our interactions and, ultimately, the depth of our inner peace. The power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present. Instead of being swept away by emotions, we learn to observe them without attachment. This allows us to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. To cultivate mindfulness, we must develop an acute awareness of the moment. Many times, people act on autopilot, driven by deeply ingrained patterns of reaction. Mindfulness disrupts this cycle, granting us the opportunity to engage with life deliberately rather than being dictated by unconscious reflexes. Practical techniques to develop mindful responses. 1. Breath awareness. When you feel emotions rising, take a deep breath. Focus on the inhale and exhale before speaking or acting. Breathing deeply allows oxygen to reach the brain, engaging the prefrontal cortex responsible for rational thinking rather than letting the amygdala trigger a reactive response. 2. Observation without judgment. Notice your feelings as if you were watching a movie. Recognize them but do not let them control you. By cultivating detachment from immediate emotional impulses, you gain the ability to respond rather than react. 3. Delay immediate reactions. If something upsets you, count to 10 before responding. This simple delay can prevent unnecessary conflict. Even pausing for a few moments allows your rational mind to assess the situation objectively rather than impulsively acting out of frustration or anger. 4. Ask yourself the right questions. Before reacting, ask, "Oh, will my response create peace or escalate the problem? Oh, am I responding out of ego or wisdom? Oh, what would be the most skillful way to handle this situation? Oh, does my reaction align with my higher self?" 5. Embrace impermanence. Understand that all emotions are transient. Anger, frustration, and irritation are like passing clouds in the sky of our consciousness. If we wait long enough, they dissolve on their own without us needing to act upon them impulsively. 6. Engage in reflective meditation. Spend a few minutes each day reflecting on how you handled situations. Did you respond with awareness, or did you react automatically? Regular reflection reinforces mindful habits and helps to rewire neural pathways for patience and compassion. 7. Use the power of silence. Silence is a powerful response. Not everything requires an immediate answer. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. In moments of tension, choosing silence over reaction creates space for wisdom to emerge. Zen story: The Gift of Anger. A student once insulted his Zen master, mocking his teachings and questioning his wisdom. Instead of reacting, the master simply smiled and asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The student, confused, replied, "To the giver, of course." The master nodded and said, "Then why should I accept the gift of your anger?" This story highlights a powerful truth. We do not have to accept negativity from others. We can choose to let it pass instead of carrying it with us. The art of non-reactivity. Non-reactivity does not mean passivity. It means responding with wisdom rather than reacting with emotion. In the face of provocation, choosing equanimity is not weakness, it is the ultimate display of strength. A person who reacts immediately to every external trigger is like a leaf in the wind, constantly blown in different directions by circumstances beyond their control. But a person who masters the pause becomes like a deep-rooted tree, unwavering in the storm. By embracing mindfulness, pausing before reacting, and choosing wisdom over impulse, we transform not only our responses but also the quality of our lives. Every moment presents us with a choice: to react blindly or to respond consciously. In making the latter choice, we claim our power, our growth, and our ultimate freedom. Breaking the cycle of suffering. The ripple effect of emotional control. Unchecked emotions create a powerful ripple effect that extends beyond our immediate reactions. When someone insults us, and we retaliate with anger, we escalate the situation, drawing ourselves deeper into suffering. Our reaction does not only affect us but also those around us. The anger spreads like wildfire, leading to more frustration, misunderstandings, and discord. However, when we practice awareness and mindfulness, we can intercept this cycle. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can pause, breathe, and choose our response. In doing so, we introduce a new ripple effect, one of wisdom, patience, and compassion. The cycle of suffering stops with us. The power of mindful responses. Emotional control does not mean suppression. Suppressing emotions leads to internal turmoil. Instead, it means acknowledging emotions without becoming enslaved by them. Imagine a vast, still lake. When a stone is thrown in, ripples form, but they eventually settle. Similarly, when external events disturb our inner peace, we should allow the disturbance to arise and subside naturally, without feeding it further negativity. Practical application. When anger arises, take 3 deep breaths before responding. Label the emotion instead of becoming it. Instead of, "I am angry," say, "Anger is present." Observe the emotion without judgment and allow it to pass like clouds in the sky. Detachment. The path to inner peace. In Buddhist philosophy, detachment does not mean cold indifference or lack of care. It means cultivating inner stability regardless of external conditions. When we are overly attached to outcomes, opinions, or expectations, we suffer when things do not go our way. True detachment allows us to experience life fully without being consumed by emotional turbulence. A detached mind is not one that avoids emotions but rather one that understands their transient nature. Joy, sorrow, anger, and love are passing states. They arise, exist for a moment, and then dissolve. When we identify too strongly with these emotions, we mistake them for our essence. In reality, we are the observer, not the emotion. Embracing impermanence. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent, from the seasons of nature to the emotions within us. Clinging to any single emotional state, whether joy or sorrow, creates suffering because we resist the natural flow of life. By embracing impermanence, we find peace in both happiness and hardship. Practice for letting go. When faced with a difficult emotion, remind yourself, "This too shall pass." Reflect on past moments of intense emotions. Notice how they faded over time. Meditate on impermanence by observing your breath. Each inhalation arises and dissolves. Just like emotions. Exercise. Reframing negative experiences. Reframing our experiences allows us to reclaim control over our emotional responses. Language shapes our perception of reality. When we change our words, we change our mindset. Thought transformations. Instead of saying, "This person made me angry," try, "I felt anger arise, but I chose not to let it control me." Instead of saying, "This ruined my day," try, "This was a moment in my day, but I will not give it power over me." Instead of saying, "I cannot forgive them," try, "I choose to release this burden for my own peace." Instead of saying, "I am always anxious," try, "Anxiety visits me sometimes, but it is not who I am." By reframing our experiences, we transform our suffering into wisdom, fostering an inner world of peace, resilience, and understanding. The power to break the cycle of suffering lies within us. In the space between stimulus and response, choose wisely, and you change not only your own life but also the world around you. Practical applications. Living with awareness. 1. Handling criticism gracefully. Criticism, whether constructive or harsh, is an inevitable part of life. Instead of reacting defensively, cultivate the habit of listening fully. A moment of silence before responding allows you to absorb the message without ego-driven resistance. Shift from reaction to reflection. Ask yourself, is there truth in this? If so, acknowledge it and use it as an opportunity for self-improvement. Every critique holds a lesson, even if it's simply learning patience or resilience. Separate yourself from the words. If the criticism is unfair, recognize that it stems from the other person's perception, biases, or emotional state. It does not define you. Imagine yourself as a steady mountain, unshaken by passing storms. Respond with grace. A simple, "Thank you for your feedback," can neutralize negativity and demonstrate your inner strength. If needed, clarify misunderstandings with calmness rather than confrontation. 2. Responding to conflict at work. Workplace conflicts can disrupt not only productivity but also emotional well-being. Instead of reacting emotionally, shift to a mindset of inquiry and clarity. Gather facts before reacting. Emotional responses cloud judgment. Take a step back, observe the situation objectively, and collect all relevant information before forming a conclusion. Speak with intention, not impulse. Words have power. Choose them carefully to build understanding rather than escalate tension. Use a calm tone and avoid inflammatory language. Seek resolution, not victory. Conflict should not be about proving oneself right but about finding a way forward. Listen to all perspectives, acknowledge emotions, and aim for a mutually beneficial outcome. When approached with wisdom, workplace disputes can lead to stronger relationships and better collaboration. 3. Navigating difficult conversations. Challenging conversations, whether personal or professional, can easily become confrontational if approached without mindfulness. Pause before responding. A mindful pause allows you to regulate emotions and choose words that reflect wisdom rather than impulsive reaction. This simple practice can transform an argument into a productive discussion. Use I statements instead of blame. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel unheard when I share my thoughts." This subtle shift prevents defensiveness and opens the door for genuine dialogue. Approach with curiosity, not judgment. Instead of assuming bad intentions, seek to understand the other person's perspective. Ask open-ended questions and listen actively. Compassionate listening fosters trust and often leads to deeper resolution. By applying these principles, we cultivate a life of awareness, wisdom, and emotional balance. Final thoughts. The art of conscious living. Life's unpredictability is inevitable. People will test your patience. Unexpected events will disrupt your plans. And conflicts will arise when you least expect them. Yet, amid all this turbulence, one truth remains. You always have a choice. Reaction versus response. When challenges arise, will you let emotions dictate your actions? Or will you pause, breathe, and respond with wisdom? A reactive mind is like a flame igniting at the slightest breeze, while a mindful response is like a steady lantern, illuminating the path without being consumed. Mastering the inner world. True power lies not in controlling external circumstances but in mastering the mind. Through self-awareness, meditation, and mindfulness, you can train yourself to observe without attachment, allowing clarity to replace impulsivity. Finding stillness amid chaos. Imagine being the calm pond that remains undisturbed even when stones are thrown into it. Cultivating inner stillness does not mean escaping life's difficulties. It means learning to navigate them with a steady heart. By embracing this way of living, you will uncover something beyond fleeting happiness, a deep, unshakable peace that no external force can take away.